so that one day President Obama can become our reality. But then there's 1965, March 7, the Edmund Pettus Bridge. We can't forget that either. And for those of us who don't know, I understand, because Carter G. Woodson, he summed it up in that book, The Miseducation of the Negro. So many of us will go through school grades K to 12 and learn nothing about this story. So then when young people see a President Obama, they don't have the appreciation for it because they don't have context in order for them to understand what just happened. So when you look at the Edmund Pettus Bridge, March 7, 1965, you had 600 people who decided that we want the right to vote. And we are going to march from Selma to Montgomery, a 4-day march, 40-mile march from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama, so that they can demand the right from the governor for the right to vote. But something happened on March 7, as I'm sure many in this room know. Because on March 7, and when they got to the other side of the bridge, there were the Alabama state troopers waiting for them. And they said, stop. You can't go any further. You have to turn back. But the marchers led by Congressman John Lewis and Reverend Hosea Williams, they say, well, the picture, they're looking at the bigger picture, the vision of having that opportunity to vote. So they decided that we're going to march. And there were 600 people behind them. So as they were standing there listening to the troopers, they didn't turn back. So the troopers advanced on them. And next thing you know, you had bloodshed. You had women being beaten up, being clubbed by billy clubs, tear gas being released. You had men. So all these marchers being beat down in the street at the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and then ultimately chased back into Selma across the bridge all the way back to where they started at the Brown Chapel. But then over a period of time, various different strategies, various different meetings, they marched on March 21st. And they marched for 4 days. Didn't matter the weather. Didn't matter the threats and the challenges. They marched until they made it to Dexter Avenue, downtown Montgomery, and made it to the Capitol. And they demanded the right to vote. And then ultimately the President of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson, signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. See, I know what my grandmother would have experienced had she had the opportunity to see a President Obama. I know that because I know she knows that story, because she was a part of that story. She lived that story. So then what business do I have? What business do we have not continuing that legacy? And then I found out, no pun intended, I found out that they're not the same thing. I found out that there are differences. And I had to learn I had to literally learn how to be a man. Because I thought that because I was a male, then that automatically made me a man. So I read a book, in addition to The Miseducation of the Negro. I read a book called The Autobiography of Malcolm X. And his picture is right on this podium. And when I read that book, I began to transform with the turning of each page. And by the time I got to the end of the book, to that last page, I was not the person that started on page 1. I was somebody new. Because all of a sudden I found out what a man is. And I found out what men do. And I found out that men stand up in the face of adversity. I found out that men do not back down. I found out that men don't walk around with a weak spine. I found out that men speak truth to power. I found out that men are the protectors of women. I found out that men lead the effort, but with the woman, but lead the effort in building up the community. I found out that a man has got to be the model of manhood for young men. So I say to all of us, if we're going to save these young people, we need each other. They need us working together on their behalf. Even those that don't want it, they don't realize why they don't want it. So we continue to fight the fight so that 100 years from now, when those authors are writing those history books, They'll be writing about us because of the contribution that we made to ensure that these young people are in fact successful and strive to achieve excellence. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.